Hey everybody, I am what you would consider a backyard racer, just an amateur hobbyist. I have no affiliation with any of the company's products. I'm not getting any of this stuff for free. I'm out there buying it just like you. And today I want to talk about the Losi Rock Rey. I did a lot of research before I bought this, and you're probably going to hear my dogs in the background, but I did a lot of research before I bought this thing. And overall, and there's the pups in the background, I am very pleased with this machine. But like anything, make sure you do your research and really look around and read the reviews and look at other people's videos. Now I will say some of the people on their videos where they've broke certain parts or have ripped out the differential, basically, it's my suspicion that some of these folks are really running it hard on a 3S. I've ran so many 2S packs through this thing and really haven't had much problems. So the one thing that I did do, that I did have to replace, which is probably never going to happen to you, if I can get out of the shadow, there's a plate here that connects these upper trailing arms, and it's a very thin piece of plastic. I went to a construction site and took this thing up a big pile of slag, not realizing that it would flow over those rocks so well, and honestly it was about 12 to 14 feet high. And this thing went sailing. I did not see how it landed, but I know with the trajectory it was probably a good 15 feet in the air before it hit. I think it landed right on that spot and sheared it, but other than that, as far as breaking things, I've not had a problem. Now, the huge concern everybody talks about is the steering horn being made out of plastic and the internal gear stripping. So this is the very first thing I did as soon as I got it. And I'm gonna tell you, it's kind of a nightmare to take this thing apart. I mean, you see all these screws here and in the front, and you're gonna notice I'm missing some things in mine. There's some guys that sit here with a bunch of screws. There's a crap ton of screws, and every screw has like this little plastic washer on this side and the other side. So you have double the washers. So one thing, I'm gonna tell you what I did. So I took all the screws out for this plastic body, okay? This body will just lift right off after that. Then there's guys talking about cutting the front of this out, and I don't think you need to do all that. So I took the screws out here and the other two on the other side, and this kind of folds forward, and then I took the screws out and took the two men out of the inside. And by that time, it pretty much kind of looked like it is, minus the body. And then the other thing you need to do is there's a body panel right here. After you take that all off, there's two screws on the top and two on the bottom, and this pulls right off. I don't know if you can see it very well, but the servo sits down in there. So when I put this thing back together, I still put the 4 screws here, put the top screws here, these screws here, but on the actual body panel itself, I only put a screw here in the back on each side. And you know what? This bolts really well. I take it, bash it on a backyard track. Really, there's a couple jumps on it. It's a lot of dirt, so I'm not taking it in the woods and jumping it up trees like some of these guys, but it's still getting a couple feet in the air and landing, and I have no problem at all. And this also, leaving this open, I mean, it gives you access to touch your motor, to make sure it's not getting too hot, to mess with the ESC. If you really want to get to the receiver though, I don't know if you can see it, there's these faux fans back here. You need to take out these screws on the sides, pull this whole thing out, now you have full access. Like I said, I mean, overall, really happy with this thing. And just to give you an idea speed-wise, my neighbor's stock slash on a 2S 5000, I believe 30C pack, was running 29 miles an hour on the GPS. They had 29 point something. Same GPS on this with a very similar pack. This thing ran 26 miles an hour on a 2-cell. So overall the speed is good. I've seen a lot of complaints about the tires and how soft they are and how they roll. And I mean, I agree if you're on pavement or a very hard surface, but when you're in dirt, I love it. Rock crawling, it does pretty well. An RR10 Bomber is obviously going to do much better than this. When comparing this to the Axial Yeti, straight out of the box, you do have to replace the servo horn, but I believe overall durability, this Rock Rey beats it. I believe in crawling it beats it. I do believe the Yeti is actually a better racer. And I once heard somebody describe the Yeti as the best $700 rock racer you can get, because after you put about $300 into it, it's really fantastic. And I totally agree with that. I just actually sold my Yeti only because I got a great deal on this Rock Rey, and it had every metal part you needed to replace basically replaced. So there were hundreds of dollars in that truck afterwards. Yeah, they're right, it did perform fantastically, but before that, I mean, you're just breaking things. So this is my review of the Rock Rey. I think it's a great truck, a little great rock racer. I have a ton of fun with it. It's great to bash in the backyard, goes well through grass. Not the best on pavement, you will flip it. It's front heavy, so if you're gonna jump it, maybe consider putting a tire way back in the back here, and leave it open like this. If you do that, taking it apart is not such a pain, but I will say, if you want to take the whole chassis off, you also have to take this front tower off down below, pull the shocks off in order to even get the whole body off. So that is a bit of a pain. I've also heard people basically tearing out the differentials by running it, and again, I think that's because they're running it too hard. I've had countless 2S packs through this thing, and other than the jump and wrecking it that one time, I've not had any issues with gearing or anything along those lines. Overall, like I said, it's really been great. The servo is probably a hair on the weak side, but I don't mind that. I don't do a lot of rock crawling with this thing, mainly going to some trails and stuff like that. So that's my review, and again, I'm just a regular backyard racer like most of you. They're going to be watching this video, and this is just my 2 cents on the Losi Rock Rey. Have fun.